Hopefully this is the first in many videos to teach you how to carve your own runes. If you're interested, I'm expecting that you already have kind of a basic knowledge of the runes themselves and what they do. We're just going to give you some of the tools that I've found, or show you some of the tools that I've found to make it a little bit easier on yourself. So come over here. You're going to want to get yourself a Dremel. Okay, variable speed. You don't have to have the snake cord here, but you want a Dremel, variable speed, and you need a tip, diamond cutting wheel. Okay, those are about 15 bucks at your local hardware store. You can get them either brand name or whatever, it doesn't matter. But what you're looking for is the fact that it has the diamond tip on it and that it's thin enough. If it's not thin enough, your runes are going to be fat and ugly and disgusting. So thin is good. Okay, once you've got your variable speed Dremel and your tip, you just need to find a place to get tumbled stone. You can get them online. You can get any kind you want. The harder they are, the more difficult it's going to be to carve, and the faster you're going to go through the diamond tip bits. So softer is okay, quartz crystal, sedimentary stone, all of those things. Anything gem quality or even semi-precious gem is going to take a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started. All I do is make sure that my Dremel is going to sit in a place where it's not going to cut me when I turn it on. And one of the things I found is that if you start with the smaller stones, because stone is not inexpensive to ship, so as small as you're comfortable working with is going to be best for you. But if you start with the smaller ones, smaller stones, and carve the smaller runes on them, you'll find that by the end of things, you've got a lot more free space to work with runes that incur more lines and have more stuff like that you need to worry about. So if you have small enough stones that you're comfortable holding, you can do it like that. I have a tendency to set them on my knee, hold them in place, and carve. We'll go ahead and get started with that. Pause. I've picked out the next stone for the next rune I'm going to carve, and you'll watch that one while I do it. This is going to be kind of loud, but I've already checked the speed on my Dremel. Since the stone has a hardness of about 3, and that's on the gemological scale, it's about 3, I've set my Dremel at about the same. Okay, if it's a harder stone, you want to go higher up. If it's a softer stone, you want to slow down. The reason for that is if your Dremel is too fast and the stone is too soft, you're going to wind up with wavy lines. So I've already checked, and it roughly works out about the same. Once you get up into the 6 and 700, or the 6 and 7 range for stones, they're actually going to be a lot harder and take more out of your Dremel bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. This isn't the loud part. Now what I like to do is I've got this tip for a reason, so that I can hold this here. I've got a little bit of play with the wheel, and I can just hold it in place and carve straight lines. You can use the blade itself, the wheel itself, to gauge and show you where your line is going to be, where it's going to go. Now this is only about a 32nd of an inch deep, if even that. It's probably closer to a 64th. What you want to do when you go to do the sideline is turn the stone, not the wheel. The wheel should be in roughly the same place. I like to start when I'm intersecting lines, start at the line and work my way out. It'll kind of give you a pattern because a lot of dust flies around if you need to wear a dust mask. Or if you're working with something like malachite, the dust can actually be toxic. So you need to find out beforehand and that's all it takes. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. Let the wheel do the work. If your wheel starts to force you to put excess pressure, go ahead and get a shot of that. If your wheel is forcing you to put excess pressure, you need a new wheel. If it's taking too long and if it's not easy, you need a new wheel. Yours is worn out. So that's all it takes for runes. I'm going to go ahead and start with a couple more. Like I said, I'm going to start with the smaller stones and do the smaller runes, That way, once I get to the bigger, more complicated runes, I can fit them on the bigger stones. Go ahead and set it off, Connor. One of the things you find while you're doing this is that some of the stones actually seem more like this rune you want to carve on them. Like this one, I personally like looks like a chicken foot. This one's not done yet. I like them to be longer. So you want to find that stone. If one speaks to you and decides that that's the rune it wants to be, that's the one you carve on it. Like, for example, this one will probably wind up being Rado, the one that looks like the letter R, because it seems like it'll fit. Another one of the things you'll want to remember when you're carving the runes is using the diamond wheel. You don't want to leave it on the stone for too long, because if it heats up, your diamond dust comes off. So just keep that in mind.